You're sitting across from them again, and that familiar knot forms in your stomach. You know what's coming. The subtle put-down disguised as a joke. The promise that will be broken by tomorrow. The anger that makes you walk on eggshells in your own life. Your body tenses. Your breath becomes shallow, and somewhere deep inside a voice whispers, "This isn't right." But then another voice, louder and more familiar, says, "Don't make waves. Keep the peace. Maybe you're being too sensitive." So you smile, you nod, you swallow your truth one more time. And a little piece of your soul dies. I see you there, tolerating the intolerable. I see you making yourself smaller to avoid conflict. I see you accepting treatment that you wouldn't wish on your worst enemy, all in the name of keeping relationships that are slowly poisoning your spirit. And I'm here to tell you something that might save your life. Your tolerance for unacceptable behavior isn't kindness, it's self-betrayal. You woke up this morning with that heaviness in your chest again, didn't you? That weight that comes from knowing you'll have to navigate another day of disrespect, manipulation, or neglect. You've become an expert at managing other people's dysfunction. You know exactly how to tiptoe around their moods, how to phrase things so they won't explode, how to make yourself invisible when necessary. But let me ask you something. When did you become so skilled at disappearing? For over 4 decades, I've studied human behavior and the patterns that either elevate us or destroy us. In my book, Your Sacred Self, I wrote about the importance of honoring the divine within you. Today, I want to talk about what happens when you dishonor that sacred self by accepting behaviors that violate your very essence. I've witnessed thousands of beautiful souls like you slowly disappear, not in dramatic moments, but in tiny compromises, small surrenders, silent acceptances of the unacceptable. What I'm about to share with you isn't just a list of behaviors to avoid. It's a wake-up call to recognize how you've been participating in your own diminishment. It's an invitation to reclaim your power, your worth, and your right to be treated with the respect you deserve. You've been taught to be nice, haven't you? To turn the other cheek, to give people the benefit of the doubt, to forgive and forget. And these can be beautiful qualities. But somewhere along the way, you confuse being spiritual with being a doormat. You confuse forgiveness with enabling. You confuse love with accepting abuse. Let me be clear. Allowing others to violate your boundaries isn't love. It's fear dressed up as love. It's fear of being alone, fear of conflict, fear of being seen as difficult or demanding. But here's what that fear is costing you: your self-respect, your inner peace, your very life force. The first behavior you should never tolerate is consistent disrespect. I'm not talking about occasional thoughtlessness. We're all human. I'm talking about the pattern of disrespect that has become the soundtrack of your relationship. The person who regularly dismisses your feelings, mocks your dreams, belittles your achievements. The one who speaks to you in tones they wouldn't use with a stranger on the street. You know exactly what I mean, don't you? That sharp edge in their voice when they talk to you. The eye roll when you express an opinion. The sarcastic laugh when you share something important to you. The way they interrupt you mid-sentence as if what you're saying doesn't matter. Because to them, it doesn't. Right now, you're probably making excuses for them. They had a hard childhood. They're stressed at work. They don't mean it. But I want you to understand something. Explaining why someone disrespects you doesn't make the disrespect acceptable. Understanding their pain doesn't mean you should accept them inflicting pain on you. When you tolerate disrespect, you teach others that you don't respect yourself. You send a message to the universe that you don't believe you deserve better, And the universe, in its infinite responsiveness, gives you more of what you're accepting. I remember speaking with Linda, who had spent 15 years with a partner who constantly criticized her. Every meal she cooked was wrong. Every opinion she expressed was stupid. Every dream she shared was unrealistic. She came to me exhausted, depleted, a shadow of the vibrant woman she once was. When I asked her why she stayed, she said, "But he loves me. He just has a hard time showing it." I looked at her and said, "Love doesn't diminish you. Love doesn't make you question your worth. What you're experiencing isn't love, it's control disguised as love." That's when she finally understood. She wasn't preserving love by tolerating disrespect. She was destroying it. You might be in a similar situation right now. You might be telling yourself the same stories Linda told herself. But I need you to hear this. Respect is not optional in relationships. It's not a luxury you hope for, it's a foundation you require. The second behavior you should never tolerate is betrayal of trust. Trust is the foundation of every meaningful relationship. When someone repeatedly breaks their promises, lies to you, or betrays your confidence, they're not just breaking rules, they're breaking the sacred contract of human connection. They're showing you that your faith in them means less than their convenience. You know what I'm talking about. The promises that evaporate like morning mist. The lies that pile up like fallen leaves. The secrets you shared in vulnerability that become weapons used against you. Each betrayal is a cut, and you're bleeding out. One broken promise at a time. Remember the last time they promised to change? You wanted to believe them so badly that you ignored the voice inside telling you this was just another performance. You ignored your own history with them, your own experience that told you their words were empty. Why? Because you wanted to believe that this time would be different. But here's what happens when you keep tolerating betrayal. You stop trusting yourself. You start doubting your own perceptions. Maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe I'm misunderstood. Maybe I'm expecting too much. You gaslight yourself to avoid facing the truth that the person you trust is untrustworthy. In The Power of Intention, I wrote about how intention creates reality. When you intend to accept betrayal, you create a reality where betrayal is acceptable. You attract people who see your trust as something to exploit rather than honor. You become a magnet for those who take advantage of givers. You deserve someone who treats your trust as sacred, someone who would rather disappoint themselves than disappoint you, someone whose word means something. If the person in your life can't be that, then they don't deserve to be in your life. The third behavior you should never tolerate is emotional manipulation. This one is insidious because it often comes wrapped in concern or love. The guilt trips when you try to set boundaries. The emotional blackmail when you express your needs. The gaslighting that makes you question your own reality. The silent treatment that punishes you for having feelings. You've felt it, haven't you? That twisted feeling in your gut when they say, "If you really loved me, you would." That confusion when they deny saying something you clearly remember. That guilt when they make their emotional state your responsibility. That fear when they withdraw their affection to punish you for not complying. Right now, someone in your life might be playing emotional chess with your heart. They know exactly which buttons to push to make you comply. They've studied your vulnerabilities and use them like a pianist uses keys. When you try to stand up for yourself, they become the victim. When you express hurt, they turn it around to make it your fault. You've become so accustomed to this manipulation that you've started manipulating yourself. You edit your thoughts before speaking. You manage your emotions to avoid triggering theirs. You've become smaller and smaller, trying to fit into the box they've created for you. But manipulation isn't love. It's not connection. It's control. And every time you tolerate it, you give away another piece of your authentic self. You trade your truth for false peace. You sacrifice your soul for the illusion of harmony. I want you to recognize the manipulation tactics you've been accepting. The way they use your compassion against you. The way they weaponize your love. The way they make you responsible for their emotions while taking no responsibility for yours. This isn't partnership. It's emotional hostage. Taken. The fourth behavior you should never tolerate is consistent negativity and energy draining. You know these people. They enter a room and the lights seem to dim. Every conversation becomes a litany of complaints. Every interaction leaves you feeling exhausted, depleted, somehow less than you were before. They're not just having a bad day, they're having a bad life, and they want you to have one too. You've noticed how you feel after spending time with them, haven't you? That bone-deep exhaustion that no amount of sleep can cure. That heaviness that settles over you like a dark cloud. That sense that somehow they've taken something from you that you can't quite name. These energy vampires feed on your light. They resent your joy and work to diminish it. They meet your good news with reasons why it won't last. They counter your dreams with statistics about failure. They're so committed to their own misery that they can't stand to see you free from it. I've watched people like you try to help these chronic complainers. You offer solutions, but they have a problem for every solution. You share positivity, but they have negativity for every positive thought. You give and give, hoping that enough of your light will finally illuminate their darkness. But here's what you need to understand. Some people don't want to be helped. They want to be miserable, and they want company. When you tolerate this consistent negativity, you don't just lose energy, you lose yourself. You start dimming your own light to match theirs. You stop sharing your joy because you know it will be met with darkness. You begin to believe that maybe they're right. Maybe life really is that hard, that hopeless, that empty. As I wrote in Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life, your thoughts create your reality. When you surround yourself with people who poison your thoughts with negativity, you're allowing them to create a toxic reality for you. You're giving them the power to write your story, and they're writing a tragedy. The fifth behavior you should never tolerate is boundary violation. Your boundaries aren't suggestions. They're not starting points for negotiation. They're declarations of what you need to feel safe, respected, and whole. When someone repeatedly crosses your boundaries after you've clearly expressed them, they're telling you that their desires matter more than your superfluous. Think about the last time you set a boundary with them. Remember how they responded? The anger, the guilt-tripping, the complete dismissal of your needs? Remember how they made you feel selfish for having basic requirements for how you want to be treated. That's not normal. That's not healthy. That's not love. Maybe it's the friend who always shows up uninvited, the family member who shares your private information, the partner who touches you in ways you've said make you uncomfortable, the colleague who takes credit for your work. Each violation is a statement. What you want doesn't matter. What I want does. You've probably been taught that having boundaries is selfish, that saying no is mean, that protecting your space is antisocial. But boundaries aren't walls that keep love out. They're gates that let healthy love in. They're not about controlling others. They're about honoring yourself. When you don't enforce your boundaries, you abandon yourself. You become complicit in your own violation. You teach others that your no doesn't really mean no, that your limits are flexible, that your needs are negotiable, and slowly you lose touch with what you need because you've spent so long ignoring it. I want you to understand something. Every time someone crosses your clearly stated boundary, they're telling you who they are. They're showing you that they value their comfort over your safety. They're demonstrating that they see your needs as obstacles to overcome rather than guidelines to respect. Believe them. The sixth behavior you should never tolerate is any form of abuse, physical, emotional, or verbal. I need you to hear this clearly. Abuse is never acceptable. Never. There is no excuse, no justification, no circumstance that makes abuse okay. Not stress, not alcohol, not their past trauma, not your imperfections. Nothing makes abuse acceptable. If someone is hurting you with their hands, their words, or their deliberate actions, that's not love. Love doesn't leave bruises, whether on your body or your soul. Love doesn't make you flinch when they raise their voice. Love doesn't make you afraid to be yourself. You know the signs, don't you? The way your body tenses when you hear their car in the driveway. The way you rehearse conversations in your head to avoid their anger. The way you've learned to read their moods like a survival skill. The way you've become an expert at de-escalation, because escalation means danger. You might be minimizing it. They only hit me once. They only say those things when they're angry. It's not that bad. But I want you to understand, abuse escalates. What starts as pushing becomes hitting. What starts as yelling becomes threatening. What starts as controlling becomes imprisoning. Your life is sacred. Your body is sacred. Your spirit is sacred. Anyone who violates that sanctity is not someone who deserves a place in your life. This isn't about forgiveness. You can forgive from a distance. This is about survival. This is about choosing life over slow death. If you're in an abusive situation, I need you to know that it's not your fault. You didn't cause it. You can't fix it. You can't love them into being better. The only thing you can do is save yourself. And you deserve to be saved. The seventh behavior you should never tolerate is someone actively blocking your growth. You're here to evolve, to expand, to become the fullest expression of who you are. When someone in your life actively works to keep you small, they're not just hurting you, they're interfering with your divine purpose. You've felt their resistance to your growth, haven't you? The subtle sabotage when you try to improve yourself. The mocking comments about your new interests. The sudden crises that appear whenever you have an opportunity. The way they become more difficult as you become more confident. You know who I'm talking about. The person who sabotages your efforts to improve. Who mocks your spiritual practice. Who undermines your attempts to heal. Who feels threatened by your growth because it highlights their stagnation. They want you to stay where you are because your evolution makes them uncomfortable. Maybe they hide your books. Maybe they schedule conflicts when you have important opportunities. Maybe they fill your head with doubts when you're about to take a leap. They've appointed themselves the guardian of your limitations, and they take their job seriously. I've seen this pattern countless times. You start meditation, they call it weird. You begin therapy, they say you don't need it. You pursue a dream, they list all the ways you'll fail. You start healing, they remind you of who you used to be. They're invested in your stagnation because your growth threatens their comfort. When you tolerate someone blocking your growth, you become an accomplice in your own limitation. You choose their comfort over your calling. You sacrifice your potential on the altar of their insecurity. You agree to live a smaller life so they don't have to face their own fears. In Excuses Be Gone, I wrote about how we create elaborate excuses for why we can't live our dreams. When you tolerate these 7 behaviors, you're not just making excuses, you're living them. You're choosing to stay in situations that guarantee you'll never become who you're meant to be. I want you to understand something crucial. Tolerating unacceptable behavior isn't noble. It's not spiritual. It's not loving. It's a form of self-abandonment that dishonors the divine within you. Every time you accept the unacceptable, you tell the universe that you don't believe you deserve better. And the universe always agrees with your beliefs about yourself. Right now, you might be feeling uncomfortable. You might be recognizing these behaviors in your own life. You might be realizing how long you've been tolerating the intolerable. That discomfort, that's your soul waking up. That's your inner wisdom saying, enough. You might also be feeling afraid. Afraid of what happens if you stop tolerating these behaviors. Afraid of being alone. Afraid of conflict. Afraid of being seen as difficult. But I want you to consider something. What are you more afraid of? Temporary discomfort? Or a lifetime of diminishment? But knowing what you shouldn't tolerate is only half the equation. The other half is finding the courage to act on that knowledge, to set boundaries and enforce them, to speak your truth even when your voice shakes, to choose your will over toxic relationships. This isn't about becoming harsh or unforgiving. It's about becoming whole. It's about recognizing that you can be compassionate without being a doormat. You can be understanding without accepting abuse. You can be loving without losing yourself. When you stop tolerating these 7 behaviors, something miraculous happens. You create space for healthy relationships. You attract people who respect your boundaries because you respect them yourself. You draw in those who celebrate your growth because you're no longer willing to be diminished. You magnetize love that elevates rather than devastates, but it starts with you. It starts with deciding that you matter, that your peace matters, that your growth matters, that your life is too precious to waste on people who treat you as less than sacred. As Rumi wrote, let yourself be silently drawn by the strange pull of what you really love. It will not lead you astray. What you really love is not the dysfunction you've been tolerating. What you really love is the freedom to be yourself fully, the peace of relationships built on respect, the joy of connections that nurture your soul. You deserve to be spoken to with kindness. You deserve to have your trust honored. You deserve to be free from manipulation. You deserve to be surrounded by those who add light to your life. You deserve to have your boundaries respected. You deserve to be safe in your relationships. You deserve to be supported in your growth. These aren't luxuries. They're not too much to ask. They're the minimum requirements for any relationship that deserves space in your life. Anyone who tells you otherwise is revealing themselves as someone who benefits from your tolerance of the intolerable. I want you to imagine something for a moment. Imagine waking up tomorrow in a life where everyone treats you with respect, where your boundaries are honored, where your growth is celebrated, where your trust is sacred, where your energy is protected. How would that feel? That feeling, that's not a fantasy. That's what you deserve. That's what's possible when you stop accepting less. Starting today, I want you to make a commitment to yourself, a commitment to stop betraying yourself for the comfort of others, to stop accepting behaviors that diminish your light, to stop tolerating treatment that you wouldn't want for someone you love, because you are someone you should love. You are someone worth protecting. You are someone deserving of respect, kindness, and support. Not because of what you do or what you achieve, but simply because you exist. Your existence is enough to warrant being treated as sacred. The people who truly belong in your life will celebrate your standards, not challenge them. They will rise to meet your boundaries, not try to tear them down. They will support your growth, not sabotage it. They will add to your peace, not disturb it. When you stop tolerating the intolerable, you don't lose relationships, you lose illusions. You don't become alone, you become aligned. You don't create emptiness, you create space for what's meant for you. Your life is too short and too precious to spend it managing other people's dysfunction. Your energy is too valuable to waste on those who drain it. Your love is too sacred to give to those who abuse it. Jeb, I know this might feel overwhelming. I know you might be thinking about all the relationships that need to change, all the conversations that need to happen, all the boundaries that need to be set. Take a breath. You don't have to do it all at once. Start with one boundary, one conversation, one act of self-respect. The universe will support you when you support yourself. The time for tolerating the intolerable is over. The era of accepting less than you deserve has ended. Today marks the beginning of a new chapter. One where you honor yourself too much to dishonor yourself for anyone else. Stand up. Set boundaries. Speak truth. Choose peace. Demand respect. Protect your energy. Honor your growth. This is not selfish. This is sacred. This is not mean. This is meaningful. This is not wrong. This is required. You know what you need to do. You know which relationships need to change or end. You know which behaviors you've been accepting that are unacceptable. The question is, will you love yourself enough to act on what you know? The answer to that question will determine the quality of the rest of your life. Choose wisely. Choose yourself. Choose to never again tolerate what diminishes your sacred self. Your soul is calling you to rise. Your life is waiting for you to claim it. Your future is depending on you to protect it from those who would keep you small. Answer the call, claim your life, protect your future. You are worth it. You always have been.